Did you know online games date back to 1844 where Samuel Morse played chess with swordsmen playing long distance via telegraph? In the 20th century, long distance chess was played worldwide via letters. You gave your opponent 3 days to make a move. Now with 81% of Australians playing video games, you can make a chess move instantaneously, as well as so much more. Online gaming is a big part of this society, but have you ever thought about the graphics? The graphics were very different when video games started in the 1950s. When computerized games started the graphics was 2D. Some early video games were Birdie the Brain 950, OXO 952 and Tennis for Two. One of the first games to have pixels was Space Invaders with 224 by 256. Online games went from text-based games to complex graphics and virtual worlds. Not all early video games were text-based. They were releasing visual games, text-based games were still being released. Read-only memory, ROM cartridges, started in 1976. In the 90s, they stopped using the ROM cartridges. ROM cartridges were limited by the simple graphics they could use. In the 90s, 3D graphics started to become popular and the characters became more lifelike and environments became more lifelike too. The first 3D video game was Maze War 1983. It was a first-person shooter. It changed the gaming world. Instead of two-dimension object on screen, it was three-dimension, and it helped shape the way games are nowadays. Some others were Battlezone 980. It was the first 3D tank game. So if you are a tank gamer, this is the game that started 3D tanks on screen. The first online game to be released was 1985's Island of Kesme. You could chat with people and it used text to draw maps. Early games had 8-bit pixels and newer ones have 3D polygons. The 8-bit pixels meant that the characters were made out of little squares and the 3D polygons were triangles for the character. In the early days of polygons for characters, it was very obvious it was made out of triangles, but later they made it seem less obvious. In 1983, the first Nintendo was released, and in 1994, the first PlayStation was released. These two consoles are good examples of ones that have changed to allow new games and graphics. Some games like sports and simulators have evolved over time. Nintendo and PlayStation were some of the first to release 3D video games. Since the 90s, video game graphics have become much more lifelike, but can video games be too lifelike? Yes, especially with shooting games. They are becoming extremely violent. People about 6 years old are playing online games. The most popular games in Australia is PUBG. 9% of Aussies players say that they are playing just for fun, and 70% of Aussie players that say that it is to improve their mental health. So people do like violent video games, but they should be more restricted for who can play them. Some modern games that have good graphics started more than a decade ago, like War Thunder 2012 and Hillclimb Racing 2012. Ta-ta for now, ladies and gentlemen.